Hi there, Joe. So you've written us a set of essays. Let's get right into it, shall we? The information illustrated in the bar, with a B, not a P, in the bar chart, it depicts how much, get rid of how much, and then just say, the information illustrated in the bar chart depicts sales of chip manufacturers in France during a year period. 2007? Are you sure about that? I don't have it in front of me, but let me check. Okay, I found the bar chart. It's actually 2017, so you have to be really careful with that. Be careful, all right? Because right away, it's the first piece of data you've given, and it's inaccurate. So I want you to be very careful about that. So overall in 2017, Intel and AMD had considerable fluctuation without that A right here. The highest amount of sales was in February for AMD, while Intel, with an L, reached a peak in June. Fine. From the graph, it is clear that after AMD reached a peak at about 120,000 in February, the sales dropped significantly in the following 4 months, and there were no sales in June without the, before ending the period at over 100,000 in the last 2 months, November, December. Okay. Okay, February AMD, and then it was really low, and then nothing. Okay. Okay, my first question is I have to wonder why you went from June straight to November, and there's no discussion of anything happening in these months at all. So you go to this low point, and then you talk about November and December, which were also really low. But before any of that happened, you had several months that were actually rather significant. I mean, you have July, which was the second highest month for AMD. So I'm a little confused why you failed to mention any of this, which I actually thought was rather interesting to discuss. In fact, a lot of the figures for AMD are rather interesting. So you could potentially say here that AMD spent most of the year under 50,000 sales, okay, as was shown in January, March, April, May. June, it had no sales. And in the second half of the year, an additional 3 months were at this sales level. The highest months for AMD were February at this and July with this. And then for the remaining 2 months, they were between 50,000 and 100,000. Okay, and then you're done with AMD. That's one way you could have approached it, okay? But what you did here essentially is you talked considerably about the first 6 months, and then you just kind of forgot about these 4, and then just went to November to December. Now, I'm not saying you absolutely have to mention every single month. Of course you don't want to, because that would mean you would be writing about 24 different pieces of data. But I do felt like you left a considerable chunk out. All right, let's move on. As it can be seen from the bar, I'm going to insist that it's a B. As can be seen from the bar chart, get rid of this that. Intel increased slightly in the first quarter of the year before a sudden decrease in April from about 95,000 to 25,000, which is from the highest sales to the lowest sales. Okay, let's check the data here. We're talking about Intel, which is blue. Okay, so let's talk about this again. About 95 to 25. So I'm a little confused because you talk about the quarter of the year for a sudden decrease in April from 95. Okay, so I don't know when this 95 and when this 25 is happening. I'm a little confused because when you talk about the first quarter, you're talking clearly about these 3 months. Okay, so I thought it would have been interesting maybe to say that it started at 50 and then in the 2 months that followed it nearly doubled before dropping even lower than its initial level to this, which is around, what is that, about 30 maybe? Okay, so I'm a little confused. In other words, if I didn't have this in front of me, I wouldn't be able to understand the chart, and I certainly wouldn't be able to draw it. Why do I mention that? Because I want you to keep that in mind every time you're doing a task 1, that you should try to describe it in such a way that the person reading your description can at least roughly draw the diagram without even having it in front of him. Okay, the sale of no, not the sale of chip manufacturers, the sale of chips were approximately 90,000 in May, followed by June and July with 25 and 75,000 respectively. In August, the sales remained almost the same for the next 2 months. Then the sales improved by about 40,000 before ending at 100,000. Okay, so from 75 we go to 75. We go to, okay, I guess that part's okay. It's certainly far more developed than your paragraph about AMD. I don't understand why. I mean, look at that. AMD, you only give about 3 lines, and then for Intel, you gave like 6. So I'm not really sure why you did that. So as you can clearly see, I would have liked more information about AMD. I felt you skipped some important things. This didn't happen with Intel. All right? There's good vocabulary. There's good grammar. You've got things like respectively and increase slightly. And so you've got all that jargon that we need for task 1. So well done. Let's take a look now at your other essay. All right, so let's move on now to your task 2. It's the one about food, local food specifically. So let's see what you said. Alrighty. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated whether, careful, what is this word? Not whether, the imported food, no, and get rid of the. So let's try it one more time. Have debated whether imported food or local food is better for the environment and economy. Some people believe that local food is more beneficial than food from other countries, but personally, I partly disagree. Okay, so you can see here clearly I've made some changes to grammar, to vocabulary, and so forth. Just some changes that have to happen for the sentence to flow better. This essay will discuss both sides using examples from England, no, from the England government, that doesn't even make sense, from the UK government and Harvard University, capital U, to demonstrate points and prove arguments. Okay, you partially disagree, so let's see what happened then. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that not importing international food will increase the economy. You don't increase the economy, you improve the economy. And will decrease pollution, which affects the environment negatively. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, when traditional food is more produced, the labor market demand increases. What does that mean? Can you explain that to me? What do you mean the labor market demand increases? So I'm a little confused by that statement, okay? Secondly, while a food is transported to a specific country, vehicles harm the environment, particularly air pollution. No, you can't say particularly air pollution. You could say particularly in the form of air pollution, okay? Or you could say vehicles harm the environment, specifically they create air pollution. For example, recent empirical research indicates that the British government noticed that the demand of jobs increased by 60% after quitting importing food. That has absolutely nothing to do with what you just said. Okay, if you're going to give me, for example, it has to tie into the sentence that you just completed. Here you're talking about air pollution. Here you're talking about jobs increasing. So totally irrelevant. It must not be forgotten that although governments will save money by not importing food from other countries, even if the labor market sales do not increase, therefore it is conclusively clear that purchasing food from foreign countries is neither professional to increase the economy. All right. I think you probably made a mistake here. It looks like you started off your paragraph in one direction and then something happened and you took a totally different direction. But you can see that all of a sudden it goes completely in a different direction. So review it to see how it could be improved. Let's go on to the next paragraph. In contrast to improving the environment, increasing the budget, importing food can help cultural exchange. All right, hold on a minute. I don't want you to talk about importing food and its benefits. That's not what has been asked here. You're supposed to talk about the benefits, not the benefits. You're supposed to talk about if it would be better to eat only local food. Okay? You're supposed to talk about that. Alternatively, you could talk about the fact that no, it's not good for people to consume local food. but never in any case have you been asked to discuss the positives of imported food. You may implicitly state something like that within the framework of something analyzing the pros and cons of local food, but you should absolutely not make this the main point of your paragraph, okay? So let's go on. In contrast to improving the environment, increasing the budget, importing food can help cultural exchange. This is largely because a variety of food comes, no comma, and people can try different foods. To illustrate, an extensive study by Oxford University, capital U, showed the majority of people who eat Japanese food, get rid of the from, are planning to visit Japan due to the fact that food reflects, CTS, the culture. Consistent with this line of thinking is that local food, in fact, will not contribute to, will not allow people to have a worldwide journey to discover different cultures. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt that food that comes from abroad will make people to exchange the culture. Okay, off topic, okay? It's absolutely not what is supposed to be discussed here. You're supposed to discuss eating local food. Do we have to do it to save the economy and the environment or not? And you've gone in a totally different direction. Okay, so conclusion. From the arguments and examples given, I partly disagree that producing food, there should be no full stop here. So from the arguments and examples given, I partly disagree that producing food can assist significantly the environment and the economy. Full stop. Capital. It may be true that importing food makes people have enough knowledge about countries. It is predicted that the role of producer and consumers will increasingly grow in importance. Okay, this is, it's not a cohesive paragraph. There's no connection between the sentences and the ideas. So if I were to rewrite this, I would change it rather considerably. So let's try it again. From the arguments and examples given, I partly disagree that purchasing only local food can significantly benefit the environment and the economy. Full stop. This is because importing food may allow people to gain significant knowledge about other countries. It is predicted that the role of producer... I don't understand this sentence at all. I don't know why this is here. I would have had a totally different sentence here. Okay? So there are some problems with this essay. I'd like you to review it. I'd like you to correct it based on my suggestions and then send it back to us. Also, don't forget to add to your error correction list. And obviously, you'll need to write another set of essays. Try to do this all in the next 24 hours so you can apply everything you've learned. Okay? Best of luck to you, and I'll be waiting to see your next set of essays.